It's author, musician, singer Al Cole from a CBS radio background, now host of the syndicated talk show People of Distinction, celebrity interviews giving high-level public figures the chance to talk about their very special human feelings, too. Because celebrities are human beings, people, and we are all people of distinction. And when given the chance, we will all speak openly about the very reason for our birth, the energy and dedication of what we call love. Hey, I'm also the author of the exciting new book, The Spirit of Romance. Hey, at last a book that defines romance as the loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. Whoa there, men-women relationships in the backdrop of beautiful universal energy too. Happy to say that my book, The Spirit of Romance, is now available on Amazon and Kindle, and I'd like to thank all of my alcoholics who have bought it and also benefited from it too. That's The Spirit of Romance by Al Cole, now available on Amazon and Kindle. Thousands and thousands of women, guys too, listen to my talk shows, People of Distinction, every week, and they contact me with their questions, reflections, and comments at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right there. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. So without any further ado, hey, we get into it. Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve. With my new book, The Spirit of Romance. Whoa, hey. Gotta love romance, people, and I know that you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to the show every week. And the reason you listen, and the reason I talk about romance, is because of the way that I define romance in my book. Certainly, men-women relationships and, opening the door for a lady and, the beautiful white wine and the wonderful fireplace and all of those romantic accoutrements that we usually talk about when we think of romance. But boy, it gets even deeper than that, people. Romance, the way I define it, is the loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. Oh, big-time territory there. When we're talking about life, well, we can't quite embrace life in the same way that we embrace our wife or our husband or the boyfriend, the girlfriend, or even the mother, father, sister, brother, the kids, the best friend too. We embrace them with that really nice, strong physical embrace, saying, I love you. Well, you know what? Life on the inside, when we talk about embracing life itself, is embraced by a big, strong hug of your own consciousness, people. Get with it. I know you're with it. Consciousness is the thing, and consciousness is something that we know about on the inside. We know that we're different from other people. And it's not just because we have a different hairstyle, a different nose, different body type or whatever. It's also because we are endowed that way. It was designed that way with our own special feelings, our own special ways of saying, I love you on the inside. We can say that to ourselves. Guess what? We can have a romantic relationship with ourselves. And that is something that we do whether we want to or not, whether we know it or not. So let's get on board with knowing it, wanting to love ourselves in the way that, it's not ego. No, it's natural. Because when we love ourselves, we're saying that we're a part of something that we love too in the outside. We are a part of a human family that we love on our inside and we can actually dialogue with on our inside. Guess what? That'll help our outside relationships too. And then when we say we love our wives, we love our husbands, that means something because it's preceded by there's a reason why we love them so much, because we know them in the way that we know ourselves on the inside, that romantic relationship that we've garnered. That's what we talk about on People of Distinction, the deep talk, people. Hey, and we love that. And, I've been very, very blessed here. Coming from CBS, of course, I came with a lot of contacts, and so I knew that digital media was the wave of the future. So I put together my own digital media network, and it's technically the Al Cole Digital Media Broadcasting Network. A lot of people call it the People of Distinction Radio Network because of my show aired on People of Distinction. However, it's not just my show that airs on my network online, care of the iTunes Radio Network and the Live 365 Radio Network, the two biggest, but also I have clients that air their shows on my network too, like-minded talk show hosts, such as the great actress Dee Wallace. Everybody knows Dee, and even if you're not familiar with the name Dee Wallace, you're familiar with why she's important in this world through the eyesight of film. Dee starred in, debatably, maybe the biggest movie of all time, E.T., the Extraterrestrial. Dee played the mother in that. And Dee is one of my clients. She's one of the people that airs her show every Thursday on my network, and it's called Conscious Creation. Dee is really a spiritual person, and that's one of the guidelines here on People of Distinction. We like to get out spiritual messages. We like to get proactive, emotional intelligence messages out, too. And we like to get heart and soul messages out, and we get out the business messages, too. You know, we don't mind promoting business as long as it's something that has to do with something that's real and authentic in our lives. The lady who's coming up right now fits into that category beautifully. Before I introduce her, let me just give you my email address. If you like what I'm talking about, you want more info on what we do here at People of Distinction, I want you to email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's alcoholic@gmail.com. Now, stick around, people. You're going to love this. Today's guest is a lady who has been in the music industry for a long time. She's now a publicist, but back in the 70s, she had a lot to do with Lionel Richie and the Commodores. She had a lot to do with a lot of other big stars back then, and it's expressed in a book that she has out through Chicken Soup for the Soul, Story Behind the Song. You got to get this book, people. It is just fabulous. But these days, she has an update to that that's an ebook, even easier to grab, even easier to access, and everybody, loves to read ebooks on their smartphones. So this lady is just a natural. Her name is Joanne Geffen. And I want you to remember that name, people, because Joanne has done such marvelous things in this world that you're going to really love it. And this is going to become a bigger book than it even was as a regular terrestrial book. And one of the things that I love about Chicken Soup in general is, I'm a Chicken Soup author, too. Now, the last time that Joanne was on my show, I wasn't a Chicken Soup author. But Amy Newmark, who is the main, what do you call it over there,
editor.
The publisher over there, she's been on my show a few times. Amy and I get along really well. And Amy said, Al, I'd like to have a story from you that if it's good enough, we can put it in one of the Chicken Soup books. And I said, all right, I'm going to work on that, Amy. And I came up with, I think, a great, great story. And it was put in Angels Among Us, which came out, I believe it was last January. And it's a national bestseller, New York Times bestseller. And my story, Angels in Heaven and on Earth, is in that, too. And I think it's page 277. At one point, I had memorized that. So you got a double reason here today to stick around, people. Double Chicken Soup for the Soul. Story behind the song. You're going to love this. And now the new ebook version, even nicer. And I want you to run to this website, visit Joanne and all of the great work that she does here at jagpr.com. That's JAGPR.com. Welcome, Joanne, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. This is really a pleasure to have you back. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you? It's good to hear your voice.
This is marvelous. Thank you so much for that. Hey, look at that. Chicken Soup for the Soul, we're going to be talking all about that. We can direct people in so many ways to Chicken Soup. It's the biggest book brand ever. This is wonderful, that the work that you're doing. We're going to be talking about things in Story Behind the Song that people might not know about. They might know the names, but they don't know these particular stories. We're going to be talking about some of your involvements, even with some of the people in your own book, because you were involved with the Commodores, Lionel Richie at one point,
Yep.
doing things with Motown, and Lamont Dozier, great record producer at Motown at that time. Whole bunch of things. So, I'm going to let you start it out here. Tell us a little bit about some of your history, and then we're going to go into Chicken Soup, Story Behind the Song. Give us a little bit of background on Joanne Geffen right now.
Sure. Well, I started in the music industry many, many years ago, and actually started with the Commodores at their first audition in life, and for Suzanne DePass, in fact, from Motown. And so I've been working with them intermittently for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Like 40 years.
Wow.
And, I've also worked with a lot of other wonderful, wonderful artists and have, blessedly a lot of relationships that, people I consider certainly good acquaintances, if not friends.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be able to speak to, there are 101 stories in the book, and there are about 98 songwriters. And I interviewed every one of them and then, told their stories in their voice, hopefully.
Isn't that great? And, I want to... we'll start out with one person, then one person is going to lead to another and another, because I want people to really get the essence of this book. I'm going to bring up a name that a lot of people might not know, but they know the hits behind this name, Lamont Dozier. In fact, I think Lamont, did he write the foreword to this book or something?
He did.
Yeah.
He's a dear friend and a wonderful human being, and certainly one of the most talented songwriters of all time.
Absolutely.
It was at the time Holland Dozier Holland.
Yeah.
And that was a trio that wrote virtually every Motown hit from its inception. They wrote, most of the Supremes hits, and they wrote for the Four Tops and the Temps. They just wrote for everybody. And
it's amazing.
Their catalog is a what's what in R&B music, and has been covered more times than we could pretend to count. He is really kind of an iconic figure in the industry, and a genuinely humble gentleman.
There you go.
He's just a lovely human being, and very, very humble about his talent and success.
I love when you say that, Joanne, because that is part of the focus today on your book. We're going to be talking about people who are very well known, people who have really iconically formed a lot of the great music, the great some of the ideas that we have of show business. You've written about so many of them, but we also want to realize that they're human beings, and that they're great human beings. And so many of the stories that maybe interacting with them, and maybe they're giving in humanitarian ways behind the scenes as well. So we want to explore a lot of that stuff. And maybe we'll start out again with Lamont. Give us, one little glimpse of certain things that Lamont has done outside of what he's known for with music that might be even humanitarian greatness.
Well, he's actually very active in music education.
Oh, yeah.
He has been a governor for NARAS, which is the Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, the organization that facilitates the Grammys.
Yeah.
And he also is I'm not sure if he's a professor or what his role is exactly, but he's involved with the USC School of Music.
Oh, okay.
And not only, occasionally teachers there, he mentors and he advises, and he's quite important in the music department there. So
Absolutely.
He's definitely given of himself, particularly with young people. He's very anxious for the tradition of music and the expression through music to prevail for generations.
And he has a brother, Reggie. I think I remember the name right. Reggie Dozier, who was...
I don't know him.
No?
No.
Yeah, Reggie, I had met a few times when I was in Southern California. At one point, Reggie was a great engineer, sound engineer.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that.
So that's another side thing there let's get back into it. Who are some of the other people in Story Behind the Song?
It's a very eclectic group, and I actually did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Because what I found to be really fascinating, kind of as a sociological study myself, the stories, each of them are entertaining and unique and interesting, I think. But what's fascinating to me is that whether you're talking about Kanye West or, Richie Sambora or Jim Croce or Stephen Bishop or Paul Anka, you know what I mean? Or Lamont Dozier or Christina Aguilera, many of their life experiences are very similar.
Uh-huh.
And so whether it's hard rock like Alice in Chains, which is in the book, or, Mick Fleetwood, or, there's a diverse group, yet human nature and the core of who we are is pretty similar for everybody. Mm-hmm. And so it's, that to me was fascinating. I mean, whether it's parental relationships or love relationships or disappointments or illness or pain of breakups or poverty or whatever the issue is, from, country music to whatever. It's, the human element is universal.
Isn't that something? It really is. And, when we talk about that human element being universal, guess what? There's nothing more universal than love. That is really the key here. And
right.
You love what you did when you put that book together, talking to these people. Let's talk a little bit about the love aspect here.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was such an enjoyable experience. And I must say that there was not one person in this book who was any less than wonderful and welcoming and warm and forthcoming to speak with. They were very generous of spirit and their time. And I think, perhaps it's because this is a legacy. I mean, it's one thing to sing and perform, and you get certainly gratification, both the audience and the artist. And there's an interaction there and a bond that's unique. But at the end of the day, what's going to survive are not going to be the CDs or the 8-tracks or whatever generation of music we're in the next, decades and centuries. But the music itself, the writing, the songs will survive.
Absolutely.
And this is their legacy on every level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the pride in this supersedes the pride in, I shouldn't say simply performing, because certainly it's a very unique art form, but in the temporary aspect of performing.
Yes, that's a good way to put it too. We're talking to a great lady here, Joanne Geffen, right out of L.A. on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Really enjoying it here. And if you're enjoying it as much as I am, I want you to get into this book, this new e-book that she has. I want you to order it. I want you to run to this website, jagpr.com.
I don't know if you can get it on my website, to be honest, but you can get it through, like iTunes and Amazon and Barnes & Noble and, virtually every resource that sells online books or regular books,
Yeah.
Great gift.
iTunes, Amazon, all of the, very predictable places, people. Online, go and get it. Now, do you have links on your jagpr.com website to the iTunes or Amazon
I believe
site?
I do, but I'm not positive, which is why I'm clarifying. I've asked my person to do that.
No problem there. Hey, any way possible, people, I want you to order that e-book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Story Behind the Song. We're just getting cranked up here on People of Distinction. And, let's turn the pages here in terms of this. It's intergenerational, obviously. You're talking about, Christina Aguilera. You're talking about Kanye West, Mick Fleetwood, different generations.
Paul Anka.
Paul Anka, whoa.
That really takes you back to
isn't
Frank
this
Sinatra
something?
days.
And we love that because we are human beings first and foremost, and it doesn't matter what generation. It doesn't matter the music.
I think it's, the only thing that changes perhaps are the melody lines, And even they don't really. It's just the beats that go with them. You know, because it's all the same. You know, you can go back to the 50s, 60s, 30s, 40s, or 80s, and, you know, the themes are very similar. Love is never going to be replaced. Pain is never going to be replaced. Poverty, sadly, is probably never going to be replaced. So the things that plague people and, you know, mistreatment of human beings by other human beings, hopefully will go away, but it's very doubtful.
Oh,
so
no,
I think that's
all
here.
Of these... That's here in this world, absolutely.
Sorry?
No, that's here in this world, and that is, you know, something that we should talk about as well. Maybe some of the tragedies that have happened to some of these people to prove that they're human. Have you read anything about that?
And, you know, the fact that they want to use their skills and their brilliance in this arena to impart messages to people. I mean, you know, Jewel with her abuse and homelessness, and Christina Aguilera was abused. And then, you know, people, you know, both Art Alexakis and Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains, you know, had terrible, terrible, terrible issues with their fathers. And, you know, they've, as a result, become fabulous fathers because of it. And, you know, their lesson is to try and teach people that you don't realize how much you hurt young children and that this is permanent. It's not like getting angry and going away the next day. You know, you're impacting their entire lives.
Yes.
And you need to think before you speak and think before you act and think before you lose your temper. And, you know, and think before you say I love you even. You know, it goes both ways. So it's really just, you know, it's real important that in our day-to-day lives that we think about other people. And I think that is really a human theme, you know, and something that prevails in each of the stories in one way or another.
That's right. And, you know, when you're talking about some of the tough times that people in your book, Chicken Soup for the Soul Story Behind the Song, have gone through, like Christina Aguilera, you know, being abused at a certain point in her life, Jewel, being homeless. And, you know, one of the things that's on the radar screen of our society these days, especially with young people, is anti-bullying. And it should be on that radar screen because that is something that we've all been through. We've all been there, done that, even the bullies, and sometimes especially the bullies because they want to get back and then they bully other people.
Yeah, you're right.
Is there any aspects of your book that maybe, you know, kind of address that with Jewel or Christina or maybe Kanye West?
Not specifically. I mean, but thematically, you know, I think that the results and the reactions are similar. In other words, what the song that Christina Aguilera speaks about is fighter, and clearly not physical fighting. But you know what her whole lyric is, you know, makes me that much stronger, makes me work a little bit harder, makes me that much wiser. So thanks for making me a fighter. Yeah. You know, so in a way, she's thanking. You know, you're not who you are if not for the experiences that brought you there.
That's right.
And so whether you got positive feedback or negative feedback from your actions or reactions, you wouldn't be who you are without each layer of your life. You know, we're onions at the end of the day, and you just have to keep unpeeling to get to the core. And so, you know, they happen to be unpeeling publicly and revealing the core and what's caused them to be who they are, and hoping to share that so that other people can dig that deeply.
Absolutely.
And you know, that's a wonderful art to have. But we each have to find that in ourselves too, which is what you were saying earlier. You know, without coming to terms with who we are in the universe and how we fit in or don't fit in, you know, is just vital if we're going to be happy on any level.
That's right. And you indicated, as you were talking, that a lot of the story behind the song with these great songwriters and these, you know, these great musical figures is in their lyrics.
Oh, yes. This is all about the lyrics. I mean, there are a couple that deal with the melodies, like Mick Fleetwood's, because he was in Europe at the time and heard these great drums and bands, and so it gave him this drum melody in his head. But generally, it's about, I mean, Art Alexakis, you know, of Everclear, Father of Mine. It's about his terrible relationship with his dad, but how it's made him a better father. You know, Paul Anka's My Way is just about Frank Sinatra and his relationship with him. Yep. You know, so there are some of it's light. I mean, you know, Chicago's Saturday in the Park is very light and cheerful. I mean, he happened to have been walking through Central Park and seen all of the visuals that are portrayed in the song, and actually was videotaping them in the park and used that as part of the video, because it's just, you know, it's just stuff that every day we see, and maybe we don't notice them. You know, and maybe we need to open our eyes and not just smell the coffee, but, you know, take a little sip. And a lot of people don't do that. They're so engrossed with just getting through the day or getting down the street or rushing to the next place that we miss out on so much of life that can bring so much joy.
Absolutely. And, you know, I've always thought, Joanne, and I think you might agree here, that since the onset of the 20th century, and particularly the mid-20th century on, after World War II, up until, you know, the present day, that we've been living in Renaissance times that easily can outstrip the 15th, 16th century Renaissance. We are living in times, especially now with the Internet and information boom, we're living in genius times. And we're living in times that we're going to look back maybe 100 years from now, 200, 400, 500 years from now and say, wow, those people were special. And see, you're penning it down in Story Behind the Song. You are dealing with some of the big Renaissance people of our time. They might not be seen that like that. They're seen with tunnel vision. Well, they're singers. Well, they're songwriters, and they're pop stars. But these people are paving a pathway to our future human family as well. Our future human family will look back and say, man, the stuff that Fleetwood Mac was doing, that was revolutionary stuff. And Kanye West, you know, he painted the path to some of the intellectual aspects of who we are.
Yeah, well, I think, frankly, that, you know, in addition to that, what they're doing is they're chronicling society.
Yes.
You know, so that future generations can understand how their parents or grandparents thought, what made them tick, what made them be the way they are, what actions and interactions, you know, made them grow or not grow. And I think that's really, I mean, I think this is like, it's history through music.
Yeah.
You know, because they reflect the times. And,
Absolutely.
you know, you go from, if you go all the way back, you know, like right after the war, they were silly songs because people needed that. They needed the escape. And now people are, you know, so insightful and overthink things, I think, you know, to such a great extent that, you know, everybody has to get deep. And, you know, and yet some of them aren't. Some of them are very simplistic and some are just plain fun. Like Kenny Loggins wrote a song about his dog, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, I think that and I think that is part of the legacy that I was talking about earlier. You know, they're each contributing to a history of our lives through music. I mean, and even when you hear a song, you know, it brings you back to a certain moment or situation or period of your life. I mean, you know, the music that we've listened to really becomes the storybook of our lives because each one triggers a remembrance, an emotion, a feeling, an individual. Oh, I was with this person when that song was out, or I just had my baby when this came out, or, you know, whatever that chapter in your life was at that moment is brought back and refreshed. And so they each have a very vital meaning to, and they vary listener to listener. That's what's really interesting. But I mean, the insights, I mean, I hear so many of these songs so differently now because I understand them. And so it's really cool to say, oh, no, it's not what it appears to be superficially. He was really talking about blah, 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 you know? So that's pretty cool, too.
It really is. And this is so cool. On People of Distinction with Al Cole, we got Joanne Geffen talking about some of the big stars of our time, and going back even to 50s and 60s, Paul Anka, and then Fleetwood Mac through Mick Fleetwood into the 70s, and Christina Aguilera, Kanye West, more current stuff, Jewel, everything. She wrote about it all, and I want you to read it all here. Chicken Soup for the Soul, Story Behind the Song. You're going to love it. It's been out in book form, but now it's ebook form, and you're really going to love that. So you can grab that on iTunes, Amazon. Do Google searches under that. You'll grab it wherever it's available. Online, it's all over the place. And you can run to this website, too, to find out more about the great work that Joanne Geffen is doing, jagpr.com. That's www.jagpr.com. Let's turn another page here into Story Behind the Song here. What is a couple of your favorite stories behind the song?
Well, I mean, there are so many because they're each so unique. The nice part is they're each unique, and what's great about this book and the format of the Chicken Soup books is you can read one chapter, put it down. It's a whole unique, independent story, and then pick it up another time. Great for an airplane, great, But, well, I mean, I've been with the Commodores so long, and I knew Ronald LaPred's wife, who many years ago, I mean, she passed away when she was 21.
Oh.
It was tragic, yeah. And, this was many, many, many years ago. Yeah. And I kind of knew the story of Zoom, which was a very popular Commodore song.
Yeah.
And I knew that he and Lionel wrote it. But I didn't know all the details. And it really it was written during the time when his wife was very ill and then ultimately passed.
Yeah.
But the details of the story are just, I mean, I cry every time I read it. And I know that, I mean, maybe because I know him, but, he never really opened up that much to me, and I've known him 40 years, We're very good friends. We are very good friends, but he still never opened up quite that much about it to me until he started talking about the song, and that's the other thing. I mean, it helps people bear their souls and their emotions through lyrics, because that's how they best communicate, and then they can explain them. So that was very interesting. Jerry Cantrell, Alice in Chains, believe it or not, I mean, which is frankly not music I would customarily listen to. And then once I spoke with him, it was just phenomenal. The song is Rooster, and it's referring to his dad, and he used to call him Rooster because of his hair was up in a kind of a mohawk, I guess. Or something.
Oh, okay.
And his dad, his dad went to Vietnam and came back a very damaged soul.
Yeah. Much
like many people who go to war and come back. And, of course, especially after Vietnam, we were so unwelcoming to the veterans that, and I say we collectively, that they really were very damaged. And so he was not only not nice to him, but couldn't relate at all. They had virtually no relationship. And, it just got really bad. And finally, many years later, when they'd been pretty much estranged, but when he wrote this song and sang it for his dad, and his dad broke down and cried, and they hugged, and they have been, I mean, for all intents and purposes, inseparable ever since. Yeah. They're in business together, they're best friends, because it broke down the barriers that couldn't really be communicated in words, because you don't want to get, you're two grown men, and so it's very difficult for them to really express the emotion they wanted to express. And this accomplished that, and it built the bridge for their relationship. So that was a very special story.
Isn't that marvelous? Hey, look, people, I'm going to talk to you here for just a minute. Joanne knows that every once in a while I'll make a reflection here, underscoring one of her great reflections, and you know it too, my listening audience right now. Get with it, people. We are human beings first and foremost. Joanne just said, she wasn't even sure if she would like the music so much of one of the people who's in the book, Jerry Cantrell. And until she talked to the man, until she found out the real story here behind the song, the real human being, the real aspects of love and maybe even tragedy, a lot of the things that we all go through, guess what? Life is a common denominator in and of itself. We have all been there and done that with everybody else's life to some capacity. All we have to do is reach out. All we have to do is, kind of give the other guy a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, or the other woman a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, to be a human being, to sometimes have the faults that we have. And if we look at it that way, that, hey, there's no human being better or worse than we are. They just take different paths, they have different lifestyles, and we can all relate with a little bit of tolerance and also a whole bunch of love here. And if we think of it that way, man, the story behind the song, guess what, people? That becomes us. We are the story behind every single song in Joanne's Great Chicken Soup book. Am I on the right track here, Joanne?
I think so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the way we talk here on People of Distinction with Al Cole and Joanne Geffen, special guests here. Again, run to this website, learn more about her great work, jagpr.com, and also order her book, Chicken Soup, Story Behind the Song. It's now in ebook form. That's the big news here. You can grab it on iTunes, Amazon, and all over the Internet. So if you need to do a Google search, Chicken Soup, Story Behind the Song, ebook form. Got a few minutes left in this great show here on People of Distinction with you, Joanne. Let's take it out with some possibility thinking. You have already lived out a lot of possibilities in your great life with so many people who you have touched bases with in a professional, even personal way, people who we would call stars, even superstars here. Let's get into possibilities. And you know that I hold a yearly event called the People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards, honoring humanitarian unsung heroes.
Yeah.
So let's go by that path here for a couple of minutes that we have left in the show. Possibilities for our unsung heroes to be the superstars of our world as well. Lay that down for us, sister.
Many. I mean, I work with a charity. I hope I'm not, too tangential here, but I work with a charity called Mending Kids. And what they do is they travel to countries around the world, 54 so far, and do life-altering or life-saving surgeries for free for children who otherwise probably would not make it or certainly would have a very compromised life.
Yeah.
And they've done, since 2006 when they began, they've done over 1,500 surgeries, all successfully. They now have hometown missions, so they do surgeries here in America. So it's not just overseas, which I personally love. And they've been to South America, to Africa, to virtually every continent. And they just do amazing things. The doctors provide their services for free, the surgeons. These are top-notch surgeons. Nurses go over for free. I'm blessed. I'm going on a mission to Peru with them in early July, and I can't wait to help. And it's just a very, very exciting charity. And fortunately, there are a lot of stars who are extremely generous who are attached. Mel Gibson, notably, and his ex-wife, Robin, and Gene Simmons and his family, and Nia Peoples, and, there are a whole Greg Louganis. There are a lot of people who really give not just a check, but time and energy. Mel's gone on many missions. I mean, Gene's gone to many of the events and actually contributed a performance of KISS for an event that raised a fortune. And so, I mean, that's when celebrity matters to me. When they can take that celebrity and not just boss people around or get free, swag, but when they actually take that power that we've given them as the public and use it constructively and change lives in a wonderful, positive way. That's what matters, and that's what people forget. They get so taken away, or they, start believing their own press. And truly, I mean, you got to dig down and pull the heart back in place,
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I think that, if we each, celebrity, non-celebrity, whoever, just give back a drop in our lifetime. I mean, there are a lot of people on Earth. If we each gave back an iota, the world would be a very different place.
Absolutely. Well said. Boy, and great cap off to a wonderful show here. Joanne Geffen, she knows what she's talking about. She's been out there for, like she said, longer than she wants to really admit. But hey, it's okay.
Now I'm glad to still be here.
You got it, honey. Absolutely. Glad to be here, alive and kicking,
exactly.
And doing still some great things. Hey, we love that. And you're going to love this too, people. I want you to order this great ebook here. It came from the original Chicken Soup book, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Story Behind the Song. Remember that, Story Behind the Song. It's now in ebook form, and it's all over the Internet. You can order it through iTunes, Amazon, every place. And go to her website, more info on Joanne and all the great work that she's doing, especially now with children, as she said. JAGPR.com. That's www.jagpr.com. Thank you. This has been a great show, Joanne. You're welcome back anytime. Yeah, this is all the time you're on the show. It is a great show. So thank you so very, very much.
You do a great job.
It's author, musician, singer Al Cole, from a CBS radio background, now to host of the syndicated talk show People of Distinction, a show that brings to light a stunning new concept: celebrity inspirational interviews, giving high-profile guests the chance to talk not only about what everybody knows about them, their great professional achievements, but also the secrets that very few know about them, their real heart and soul human values, the values that link them closely to the core of our human family. Because celebrities are human beings, people, and we are all people of distinction. And when given the chance, we will all speak openly about the very reason for our birth, the energy and dedication of what we call love. Hey, I'm also the author of the exciting new book, The Spirit of Romance. Hey, at last a book that defines romance as the loving relationship that we all enter into with life itself. Whoa there, men-women relationships in the backdrop of beautiful universal energy too. Happy to say that my book, The Spirit of Romance, is now available on Amazon and Kindle, and I'd like to thank all of my alcoholics who have bought it and also benefited from it too. That's The Spirit of Romance by Al Cole, now available on Amazon and Kindle. Thousands and thousands of women, guys too, listen to my talk shows, People of Distinction, every week, and they contact me with their questions, reflections, and comments at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right there. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. So until next time, people, wish you peace, awareness, romance, and mostly love.